And we are back. For more than 130 years, Eastside House Settlement has become a beacon of hope for those in need. Dedicated to the well-being of the individuals and the families it serves, Eastside House strives to enhance lives through educational, career, and supportive services, creating pathways to a more fulfilling life. Here with me now in studio, I'm pleased to be joined by the Executive Director of the Eastside House Settlement, Daniel Diaz. And good to see you again, brother.
Oh, thanks for having me again.
Hey, glad to have you as we kick into 2024. What's it been like for you?
2023 we're wrapping that up right now. We've had a year of building on our programming, and now we're looking forward to 2024 where we could open up some things and have some great ribbon cuttings for some new programs.
Yeah. And so for yourself, talk to me about programming this year, because we're in a place where COVID is pretty much, it's not as high as it used to be, but yet and still the need for services you're finding are still many.
Absolutely, and I think there's been a lot of change and churn, if you will. So we're an education and workforce development company, and when you look at how many students have decided not to go to school because they were going to be behind a screen, not to go to college, that is, and they were going straight to work. Now we're seeing a little bit of a reversal where people are wanting to go to college a little bit more because now it's opened up. Mm-hmm. And so some of our post-secondary programs have been highlighting access to college again, the way that it used to be.
Yeah. So talk to me about that high school, college age demographic. How you've been able to service them?
Yeah, that's our sweet spot at Eastside. You know, some people, I've never heard anybody say they like working with teenagers. It's either they love them or they hate them.
Right.
At Eastside, we love them. So our 16 to 24-year-old pop, we serve about 5,500 of those a day at Eastside House. And so that's in a variety of ways, through workforce training programs and also through academic enrichment support. So attendance improvement, getting people the trainings they need, so EKG, phlebotomy, CNA, all the alphabet soup on the health field, all go together. So we've been seeing our services increase and gaining and helping young people gain the skills they need to be more successful in their employment pursuits.
We know right here in the borough of the Bronx, we lead in unemployment. With the unemployment rate. Talk to me about that, because part of conquering that is really helping people get the skill set, and you guys do a great job of really providing some wraparound services to really at least get people in place to say, once you sit in the seat, you should be okay.
I mean, the biggest win has been employment partners. There's a lot of people that can provide training, but if there's no employment at the end of that training, then you've just trained them to do nothing. So, so the whole idea is to partner with people who need individuals that need the employment workforce. And so partners like New York Presbyterian Hospital, partners like Bronx Lebanon Hospital, partners like Fresh Direct, partners like Amazon, people that are looking to us to say, okay, we need people, you have people, we can help you what we're looking for. Can you train them? And we're like, absolutely. And then, can you hire them? Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's handshake on that deal. And then that's how it works.
Awesome. Talk to me about high schoolers, because everybody's not going, finishing high school. There's also the high school equivalency. And there are people who are able to really partake in that and take advantage of those services.
Absolutely. So we have a number of young people. We would call it, I don't want to call it the last chance, but you have transfer schools, you have young adult borough centers, and then you have the GED, the traditional GED. And depending on who owns the name at this time, they change from TASC to GED to back to high school. So on the GED side, we're currently serving about 250 young people that are looking and pursuing their GED. And with that GED, they can go on to post-secondary either training programs, they can go to college, a two-year college mostly, and then also they can go straight to work.
Wow, beautiful. Let me switch fronts for a minute. Go from talking about those in high school, talk about seniors for a minute, because that's also a vulnerable population, but a population that you serve very well.
Absolutely. We have 3 older adult congregate meal centers, and then we also have our home-delivered meals program. And so we service districts 1 through district 6 in the Bronx. So half of the Bronx. Anything below Fordham Road, we're delivering food to immobile older adults. And so our older adult population is as vibrant as ever. And so we just had our Winter Wonderland at the Mitchell Gym, where Rod Strickland played ball and everything else. And we turned it into a Winter Wonderland. And our older adults came in and they did dance lessons, and they taught some of our young people. So a good intergenerational mix. we're keeping them active. We have what's known as what we call foster grandparents, and so our older adults are also the foster grandparents, if you will, of our early childhood programs. Right. So our youngest participant is 18 months, and our oldest participant is 102. So we serve from twinkle to wrinkle. I mean, that's what we do.
I like that, from twinkle to wrinkle. Well, talk, if you had to look at where the landscape, 2023, right, and you look back, talk to us about how you've been able to make it funding-wise, because we know so many organizations have been cut with funding. What's it been like for you? Has it been a challenge, uphill, downhill?
You know, we've been pretty steady, thankfully. All the wood, everywhere.
Right.
We want to make sure we're pretty steady. We have a very good funding base on the private side, which helps us sustain some of these variations on the public side, so the government funding side. So we have a big event that's actually coming up in January, which is the winter show at the Park Avenue Armory, where we have a 10-day arts fair show, and it brings in a considerable amount of money to Eastside House. And so we've been able to really weather some of these storms and then bring in new resources, because our programming is leading to actual jobs and changing lives. And when that happens, people are inspired more to give.
Yeah. When I think about what's happening now, technology emerging, right? You got AI and ChatGPT, a lot of things happening. Staying relevant is important.
Absolutely.
Right? How have you managed to stay relevant and even bring relevancy through your programs?
Absolutely. You know, one of the things I tell my team, our motto at Eastside House is be better, right? And I've been there for 20 years. So, and in my 20 years here, we have always been reinventing ourselves. The last thing we want to be is Blockbuster in a Netflix world. That's not something we want to do. And so when we see the opportunity to create programming that's going to change lives of the individuals that we serve in a way that is going to be sustainable, meaning you're going to get a job that you're going to get an EKG phlebotomy job, but then that's going to lead you to go back to school to get your LPN. That's going to lead you to go back to school to get your RN. You're going to continually coming back to us, and we're going to be able to help you get to the next level of wherever you want to be. And so that type of innovative thinking, even when now I told you we have the home delivered meals program, we're building a commercial kitchen, a commercial teaching kitchen. That kitchen should be opening up this spring. What that means is our community members are going to be able to feed themselves. They're going to be able to learn how to cook, because the kitchen don't really care where it came from. Right. The kitchen cares you could cut it and that it tastes good. And so that's how we constantly continue to reinvent the work that we do.
For yourself, I mean, we talk about some of the great things that are happening. What are some of the big challenges you have?
The biggest challenge, like many other businesses, is finding staff members that are going to stick around. So, you know, I've been at Eastside for 20 years, and the new trajectory of what we're seeing in many sectors is that people are staying maybe a year and a half max, and then they're moving on, which really hurts continuity. Right. And it really hurts the ability to build on things.
Well, I mean, let's think about the fact when you talk about young people, right? They require consistency, right? If I'm gonna correct, I got to connect, and so connecting means you got to be there for a second. So when you're stuck with staffing challenges, how does that impact relationship, and then the bottom line of what you're trying to accomplish? And sometimes I just don't have who I need to have.
It definitely gets difficult. What I'm thankful for is that our core team is still there. We've been here for quite a number of years, so I'm happy about that. It's the newer ones that are coming on that are falling off a little bit more rapidly, and so that's been a big struggle. And then also reinforcing and telling the young people that even though said person is not going to be there anymore, we have somebody else, and then their leader that's been there for 10, 15 years is still there. And so we can still show them a level of consistency even when things are tricky.
Yeah. Being at an organization 20 years, that's enough to...
I had a lot more hair back then, bro. I mean,
I think we all did.
I had Danny Two Combs.
Listen,
I was good.
I won't show you the old pictures of me back here. I had hair, had a high top fade. They can probably find it. I don't want to bring it out right now. But listen, when you look at 20 years obviously is a long time. You've weathered some challenges and some changes. Right. As you look towards the future right now, what do you set your eyes on?
Well, we set our eyes on our innovative programs. I set my eyes on, being here, what the next 20 years is going to look like while I'm here. I'm not looking to leave anywhere. I'm looking to build on what we've done. So you have the commercial teaching kitchen that's coming, and then we just got approved on October 12th for our charter school. So
awesome.
Eastside House is starting our first charter school. That's going to be the first of its kind, where it's going to be a career technical education school for teenagers, so 9th to 12th grade, a high school, and it's going to be focusing on the medical field. And I say this with all sincerity. That's our first charter school that we're going to start. There will be others. And so the idea would be to bring workforce, to bring employment opportunities into the high school realm, to teach young people what the value of work is, so that hopefully when they leave our school, they'll have a diploma in one hand, a job offer in another, and be able to then fulfill their family's dreams.
So when we look at young people right now, and we talk about this show, which is social justice, right? A lot of people say that young people aren't really that engaged and involved, but with a person like yourself, I know you say different.
Oh, they're involved, 100%. I think what people lack to give them is the right platform,
Right.
and they don't value their voice. When a young person speaks, sometimes we correct what they're saying as opposed to amplify what they're saying. We'll say, oh no, if you said it this way, it would come out a little bit better. No, they said it correctly. Like, we're gonna help them along the way, but what they said was correct. And so at Eastside, we try to make sure that their voice is amplified. We make sure that their voice, especially when they're getting around that ripe old age of 18, when they're ready to click that ballot, that they are registered to vote, they know where their voting spot is, and in most cases, they're in one of our centers.
Right.
So it makes it a lot easier, and they know what the issues are. And so when they're informed, that social justice, that it just kicks right in. They become more civically engaged, and they move forward, and it's a beautiful thing.
Does it make the difference to have a multiplicity of programs for young people, for seniors? I mean, you're intergenerational, right?
Yeah.
Does it make the difference when you're talking about community engagement?
It does, because we could have great grandma in our older adult centers, getting her food on and getting her dance on and doing la plena and everything else, and then we could have the great grandchild in our early childhood programs, getting the head start that they need in order to be ready for kindergarten when they go in. And when they go to kindergarten, they could see Eastside House signs everywhere, an Eastside House logo, because they'll see in their kindergarten, in their school, we're in their after school program, we're in the day school program. So it really shows them that we are there every step of the way, and we have something for every single person in the area that we focus in. It will be education, workforce development. We have something for you no matter what your age.
Yeah. So for people who want to get connected and find out about the information that you have, be a part of some of the resources that you have, how do they go about doing that?
You can go on our website. There is a link that you can click. They'll go ahead and email the website. And once you're on that website and you email and you see what you're looking for, we'll get back to you within that 24-hour period.
Yeah. I want to talk about college access too, because I didn't get a chance to talk about that, because so many people do want to do college, right? And having the opportunity to access college, it's not as easy as it used to be, but in some ways people say, hey, I would have, but there are barriers, and when there are barriers, people just drop out sometimes. They won't even finish the process. Talk to me about college access.
We have a bunch of college access staff members that work very tirelessly to decode the system to make it a little bit more palatable for either first-time goers, which is many of our students, or people who just don't have the support at home in order to fill out those applications and then figure out what matriculation really looks like. And so we'll do things like we'll have a FAFSA night where we just go ahead and everybody's doing financial aid one whole night. We're dropping 500 young people in a room, families, whatever it is, and we're just knocking them all out. And so we try to do a lot of creative things to engage people around what the college process looks like. And then we don't just want to help them get in and matriculate and be in that first year. We want to help them persist even beyond. So we stay with them. Our college counselors stay with them for at least their first full year, so they can get all the vocabulary under their belt and that language acquisition, like what's a bursar, like all that other stuff that we know, but they don't. So we're trying to give them that information all the way throughout their first year, and then that would lead to what persistence looks like after the first year. Usually can head to the finish line a little bit easier.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, I want to talk a little bit about, when you look out there right now, city, state, budget cuts. Sometimes you hear community centers. Sometimes you hear, senior centers.
Now you're cursing at me, bro.
Now, listen, I got to listen. I know we got to talk, but we got to keep it 100, because I want to give the opportunity to you to be able to share, I think, from your perspective, what the loss is when you don't have those programs or sometimes a center closes down. From your perspective, being there, what does that feel like in the community? Because you got people up there that just sit down and make decisions. Hey, we're not going to do this, right? But sometimes they have no real boots on the ground to know the impact. So as a person who's been there, what's that feel like?
A lot of times we try our best for our community members not to feel it as much, but these cuts, they may feel. The cuts that are coming down the pipe, they may feel. And so legitimate cuts, like 15% cuts across the board, which has been touted by the city at the moment, if you're cutting 15% of the budget, it's not just easy to just cut 15% of a staff member.
Right.
You still have full-time staff members that need to work. You still have part-time. So when you're making these big, long cuts, because for whatever the reason, maybe the stimulus package is ending, whatever it is on the city front, they're making their decisions. We have to be able to make decisions to show the continuity that we have in the community. And so we try our best to fill in as much as we can with these cuts. But it is really hard. It is really hard to figure out if a community center is being cut, what does that mean for the neighborhood crime statistics? What does that mean for when a young person is struggling and they need the tutoring help in order to pass that next third grade reading test, or to go ahead and get their regents passed and so forth. So all of those pieces come into play when we're talking about cuts. None of them are easy. The state cuts are coming up too next. So cuts are legitimate. They're horrible. But we're trying our best to not let the community feel it as much.
Yeah. What about philanthropy? You're seeing a lot more people become philanthropic in these days, given the fact that there's so many cuts out there, but there are also so many needs. When you talk about food insecurity, you talk about all these things that are going on, homelessness. Are you seeing a rise in that?
See, you mentioned something earlier. You said, as we're putting COVID to bed a little bit, and the COVID philanthropic push was huge during 2020. People were just throwing money at them. They were like, that's gone.
You get a car.
That's gone, right? That has gone. But the mainstay, the people that have been around, the foundation world that has really kept the not-for-profit sector alive, is still alive and well, and still giving the money that they need to give. The individual side, we just need to give them better opportunities to give. And thankfully at Eastside, we're able to do that. We're able to come up with innovative programs every couple of years to show them, like, we're not just staying stagnant, we're moving forward. And because we're moving forward, you're gonna move forward with us. And that means your wallet's coming.
Right.
And so that's how we're able to do it.
Yeah. Greatest joy so far in these 20 years?
Oh, the greatest joy is when you go to one of our graduations. After all the hard work and everything else, I still remember there was this one young lady, she put on her hat, "My mom crossed the border so I could cross the stage." And when I see stuff like that, you know that the work that you're doing is meaning more than what you thought it was. And so some of my greatest joys have been seeing people that have been counted out, people that have been downtrodden, people that said, you know what, those students are never going to make it. We're seeing them make it. We're seeing them do well. We're seeing them. They're the ones that are pushing me around in the hospital if being the transporter. They're the ones that are doing it right now. They're the ones voting for our next legislators, and they're the ones that are going to, quite frankly, take care of us when we old and gray and can't do it.
Right. Greatest. Talk about greatest accomplishment. Talk about the greatest tragedy.
See, the greatest tragedy is. It's difficult to say which one is higher, but I'll just say that we weren't able to come up with as many programs as we thought we could in a certain amount of time to combat the issues that COVID brought. We had a lot of loss during COVID. Staff members we lost, staff members' families we lost, families of our young people we lost, and so it was very difficult. And especially when everybody's telling you to get away from each other and to stay away. In a social service business, without the social, it just didn't work.
Right.
And so that was a horrible tragedy for us during the pandemic.
Yeah. I think for everybody in the New York City area, it was hard, and definitely for agencies at front lines such as yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
it's hard to social distance when you daisy chaining boxes.
Right. Right. Diaz. Good to see you as always, my brother. Gotta
Great
come
to
back
see
again.
you. I will.
Alrighty, definitely. All right, taking a quick break. We'll be back more right after this.